Hello, church. This is the update that has been promised since November, I think. Was going to, I wanted to give you an update as to what to expect. I was going to try to do it as to what to expect for the holidays. Those have come and gone. So I need to let you know what's going on for the year, what the plans are for the feeding station for the year of 2022. It has been an interesting end to the year here in Colorado and start to the new year. Those of you, I'm sure everybody's aware now of the fires. For those of you not in Colorado, aware of the fires that had happened here in Superior and Louisville particularly. So it has been traumatic. It's been confusing. It's been weird. It's been dark. There's been a cloud hovering over the end till the holidays here for us here in Colorado. It was just a catastrophic thing that happened here, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We're not going to talk about it too much, but it's just we're trying to pick up the pieces here and dust ourselves off and get moving here in 2022 and help out as we can. So first off, for the feeding station, as some of you have probably already figured out, there have been some changes, some things taken away. I don't think they're going to be they're taken away permanently, but the issue is, as those of you know, it's just me here at the feeding station doing all of it, and which is fine, and that's what I'm called to do, and that's totally cool. But I think I was doing too much and spread too thin, and things were good, I think, but not as good as they could be. And so, as I said, spread a little too thin. So as of right now, the daily broadcasts and the daily prayers have gone away. As I said, I think they're on hiatus. I don't think it's a permanent thing, but I think there's got to be some help there. I think the broadcasts are going to take on a different thing for now. It might be a weekly, bi-weekly interview with somebody. I've done some things with Dr. Grodice. I'm going to reach out to him to see if there's some things we can do together. I've also talked to some other people, and so those may be just weekly conversations about things. I'm also going to change the tone. We've done towards the end of the year, we had done a Wake the Neighbors thing on Fridays, which is more of a news program, and I think that served its purpose, but faith is supposed to be uplifting. Things of God are joyful and loving and like I said, uplifting and encouraging. And the Wake the Neighbors thing was kind of a downer. The news thing is very heavy, and there's enough of that out there. You don't need me to do that. And so with all of it, there's got to be, the broadcast has to change. It's got to go towards something more faith-based and more joyful, more uplifting, as I said, and encouraging. I apologize for those who were looking forward to picking up Knowing God again. I've left you hanging, but I would encourage you to grab the book and finish reading it. We're about halfway through, and finish that on your own. It's a great book, and there's really quality stuff in what's left. So grab a copy and finish it on your own. On the prayer side, I think that's also going to be as needed. Obviously, there are prayers needed now for what's going on here in Colorado and in those two towns I'd mentioned previously. For those of you who are prayer warriors, you know who you are. D, for instance, KK, if you're watching, you're another one. For those of you moved to pray and think this may be something, if God puts this on your heart, pray, record it on your phone, send me the audio. If I think it's, fits what we're doing here, we'll get it up, and the prayer might be something as needed. And so there are those of you out there who are, I'm not the prayer guy, I'm not the prayer warrior. Doug used to cover that here at the feeding station. And so for those of you who may be the prayer warriors, I would encourage you to record something and send it to me. Ruth Ann, you're another one if you're listening or watching. Pray, like I said, record it, have it, and send it to me. The scripture readings this year, it's changed again. We're mixing it up a little bit. We're not going back to the traditional Old Testament, New Testament, Proverb, and Psalm reading, but we are going back to a Old Testament, New Testament schedule. And it's the same place we got last year's chronological schedule from. I thought that was really good. And so, again, it's a Blue Letter Bible schedule. And the way they describe their schedule is like this. I'll just read it. It's important to understand the fullness of God's message to the churches. And a great way of doing this is reading the Old and New Testaments simultaneously. And so it is a Old Testament, New Testament, not every day, but most days will be both Testaments. And I like it because while I like the chronological readings, I don't like not getting to the New Testament stuff and the words of Christ until September or October in the year. I like getting there now early and balancing the two. And so that's what we're doing. I think this schedule a little bit better. Doesn't break up verses. It finishes verses and stuff and chapters and all that. And so I think it's a solid schedule. The devotion is going to be, it's by Timothy and Kathy Keller. It's the Songs of Jesus. I had a couple of different things in mind, but this came from Lisa White, Pastor Doug's wife. We were chatting over the holidays and texting back and forth, and he had said that Lisa really liked this. And so for me, that's good enough for me. I trust those two implicitly, as you know. And so the Songs of Jesus it is. And it's based on Psalms. So that's even a bigger plus. So we get some more times in Psalms and devotions based on Psalms. And so that's what the daily devotion is going to be. A Song of the Week will continue. Some of you may have noticed I've started to sneak in some old-time radio stuff. I do that, and I did it today. Today's recording this on the 3rd. I did it today as a reminder of who we are, and from a country, a Christian faith-based nation, and to be reminded of that at times. And sometimes I will use that old time because I'm always struck by that, by the stuff that I hear in old radio broadcasts from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Excuse me, a lot of invoking of prayer, especially during World War II, a lot of invoking of God and stuff. And so I think it's important for us to remember where we came from. I had seen something the other day that somebody had done a study of the writings of the Founding Fathers, and a huge percentage were either based directly on biblical writings or based on others who based their writings on the Bible. And so it's like 70, 80% of what the Founding Fathers wrote is biblically based. And so we need to remind ourselves of that. A lot of people are trying to pull us away from that. Satan is using a lot of things to try to pull us away from that. We have to stand firm and hold on to that because we are a faith-based Christian nation and we need to stay that way. So the Song of the Week will continue. Messages on Sundays will continue. We'll go back to Romans this week, continue our series on that. We'll be in that for a while. And so those will continue. So I hope you tune in for that. To the fires. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I don't have answers. You know, a lot of people are asking why. Why do things like this happen? In a fallen world, they just do. I don't have the answers, and I'm not going to try to explain it. And I don't know the heart of God, and I just know that these things happen for various reasons. Some are testing, some are to grow faith. But, as to the purpose of if there is a purpose or if this is just a thing that happened, I can't tell you. I don't know. And I'm not going to try to explain it. What I will say is this. Coming out of the holidays, a lot of you know that Faith of Our Fathers is become one of my favorite hymns. And you hear it probably at least 2 or 3 times a year. Another one that has now come to the forefront for me is I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. My wife pointed out she had heard it on, it was either K-Love or the Sirius Christian station, the story behind it. And there's an updated version of it that I've played from Richard Marx. I think Mercy Me has done that version of it as well. Being a rock and roll guy, I like the updated version, but both versions are very to the point of what happens when things go wrong and how we find faith in those moments. It's much like it is well with my soul. There's a very sad story behind that of a man's family being killed when the ship that they're on sinks, and he writes that song. It's very much the same thing. Longfellow wrote the poem that this hymn is based on. He lost his first wife. I forget to what disease. I just read it the other day. He was married, got married a second time. He's taking a nap. His wife is sealing envelopes with wax, and somehow she catches on fire. Her screams awaken him. He rushes in, tries to put the fire out. She's severely injured. He is injured. She survives the night, I believe, but then dies the next day. He is so burned up and hurt in trying to help her that he can't even attend her funeral. And then as the Civil War breaks out, his son feels the call to go serve, and he goes and serves and is eventually wounded. He gets shot, and the ball comes in one shoulder and out the other, and barely misses his spine. So he's laid up for a long time. And so in the midst of this, he's a widower with 6 or 7 children, and then Christmas comes around, and he hears the bells, and he's like, how am I supposed to be joyous in this season with all that I've gone through? And in the writing of the poem, you hear him talk about how the evil shall fail, the right shall prevail, and God is not dead, nor does he sleep. That is the strongest line for me, because in times like this, we can feel like God's forgotten about us, or God doesn't care about us, or whatever term. We've all heard these terms. We go through things like this. We went through it at 9/11, which I've talked about in the past. And so we question where God is in these times. What I hold on to are those lines from Longfellow. God is not dead, nor does he sleep. That's all I can tell you. For my wife and I, we're looking for ways to help. We're praying a lot and want to be guided by the Spirit and how we help. We don't want to just run off kind of half-cocked and do things just for the sake of doing things, because that makes us feel better. Doing something in these times makes us feel better. But we want to make sure that we're guided by the Spirit and how we help, and when we help, and where we help, and how we help. And so that's how we're dealing with it. It was devastating to watch, but it's been a devastating 2 years. And in the midst of these 2 years, it's been very easy to lose sight of God, or to think God has lost sight of us. I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. And as long as the feeding station exists, that will always be the message, that God is here, God is alive and well, God has a vested interest in all of us, and he does bring things into our lives for various reasons. Again, I will not attempt to explain why anything happens in anybody's life. I have a hard enough time trying to decipher it in my own. But I know that God is there. He's on the throne in the midst of everything that has gone on and that goes on, and he will continue to be there. And Christ will return. And when Christ returns, he will take his rightful place on the throne of this world, but God will still be on the throne of the universe. That will never change. His plans that he talks about in his word will come to fruition at some point. And you cannot help but, be in these times and look at what's going on around you and not know that, you cannot, how am I trying to say this? You can't look at things that have gone on and not see the pattern that's been played out in the Bible over and over again, and see us moving towards what's eventually going to come in Revelation. I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime. I don't know if it'll be in yours. But God's plans for salvation will be carried out. And he is, as I said, in the midst of everything that is going on. His hands are all over it. And so for all of us, we need to pray. And then when we are called, we need to answer that call and show up and be the light of Christ. We have been saved from death by Christ on the cross. Now, out of appreciation and love for what has been done for us, now we have to answer the call and do for others when called to. And so, again, James says, faith without works is dead. We're going to be called to do works for the kingdom, whether it's for the people who, for us here in Colorado, for those who have lost everything, or for somebody we meet at the grocery store in the next day or two. We're going to be called, and we have to be the light. We have to answer the call, and our lives have to reflect what's been done for us. Again, like I said with the broadcast can't be a downer. The broadcast has to be joyful. It has to be uplifting. It has to be joyous for what's been done for us. And so our lives should reflect the same thing. It's hard. It's hard. I understand that. But he who is in us is stronger than he who is in the world. And so we have the power of the Holy Spirit and the power of God at our disposal should we choose to allow God to work in us and through us. It's up to us. But if we want to make a difference, especially for those who are suffering mightily right now, we have to answer the call, which means we have to surrender ourselves and we have to love one another, even when we don't feel like it. Jesus said people will know we are his followers if we love one another. Well, there's never been, I shouldn't say never been, but right now there is a big need for us to love one another. Are we going to answer that call? It's up to us. So if you have any questions about what's going on here, any suggestions for those of you who might want to pray, might want to help out, don't hesitate to contact me, gfsministry316@gmail.com. That's our email address. www.godsfeedingstation.org is the website. That's where you can find us, and you can email us through there. And the app is available. I was going to use this message to ask for funds, when we're talking about showing up for people, because there's things that we need. There's nice to haves and there's things that we need. The price of maintaining the app has gone up $33 a month. So it's $133 a month now. I can't ask you for money because there's a greater need out there. There's a greater need out there. There are people who need it more than we do here at the feeding station. We'll figure it out. God will provide. We won't have to figure it out. God will provide. But I can't ask you for that. I bring it up because there are going to be times where we're going to have to deny self, to deny ourselves in order to help others. And so I pray that, me being somewhat selfish at times, I pray that I hear that call and that I will be faithful enough to deny myself, to answer that call, to help others. We're going to have to do that in order to do what's necessary to pull others up. We're going to have to deny ourselves, I think. And so I pray that we'll all be ready and willing to do that when the time comes. So with that, I wanted to mention that because I think it's important. It was an important message to me in the midst of this. I think that in part is why this message, as I said, got delayed for so long. But I think that message of self-denial is important because Jesus denied self and he put us first and went to the cross as a victor. We are going to have to deny ourselves in order to reach out, as God has reached out to us and pulled us out of the depths of our sin. We are going to have to do the same and for others and pull them out of the depths of despair and all the things that they're dealing with right now. And so, I pray that we're all strong enough and faithful enough, aware, just being aware. I hope God gives us the wisdom and discernment to know when it's time to do that. But I pray to God that we're ready, willing, and able to do that, to reach out to those brothers and sisters in need, to pull them out of whatever they're in the midst of and be the light that they're going to need and be the love that they're going to need to be shown. So with that, thanks for listening and thanks for being there. Thanks for your support. I so appreciate all of you. I love all of you. We couldn't do this without you, without your prayers specifically. So keep praying, keep lifting us up, and keep the faith. Keep the faith. God is on the throne. He hasn't abandoned us. He hasn't forgotten us, right? We have to be faithful. Know that. Know what's been done for you and rest in that. Give it to God. So with that, have a great day, great evening, whenever you're watching this. Again, thanks for everything, and God bless you all. And Lord willing, we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.